Welcome to the Crypto Layer HQ. Today we will be covering how to buy the Bitcoin bottom. As we can see, in 2014, the bear market lasted 405 days, from the exact top to the exact bottom. And then we went sideways for 290 days. In 2018, the bear market lasted 363 days exactly, from the exact top to the exact bottom. And then we essentially went sideways around the bottom for 107 days. And then in 2022, the bear market lasted 364 days. And then we went sideways around the bottom for 64 days. So we can see bear markets last approximately anywhere from 363 days. That was the shortest bear market we had. And the longest bear market we had was 405 days. So best case scenario, the market bottoms as early as 363 days. And worst case, it can take up to 405 days to get our bottom. So if we look at our current cycle right now, from the top, if we look out 363 days, which would be the soonest the bear market bottom would be in based on previous cycles. Of course, it could end up being earlier or later, but let's take the fastest bear market we had, which was in 2018, which was 363 days. That would take us to October 2026. And then if we look at how long bottoms lasted, we can see in 2015 it lasted 290 days. So let's take that as the longest amount of time a bear market bottom lasts. So 290 days would take us to July 2027. If we look, the shortest amount of time a bear market bottom essentially lasted, that was in 2022 when it lasted 64 days. So that would take us to December 2026. So if we zoom in a bit, we can see essentially we would have a bottom as early as October 4th, 2026, and that bottom could last anywhere from 64 days to 290 days. So based on that, it gives you an idea when you should start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And even if you prefer to do more of a lump sum strategy, this gives you a very good time frame of how much time you have to buy once the bottom is in, how much time you have to DCA. This should give some amount of reassurance that you're not late in terms of buying the bottom, as I know a lot of people are saying the bottom was 60K, and if you missed the bottom at 60K, you already missed the boat, but that's very unlikely based on prior cycles, since the bear markets usually last a lot longer than the amount of time we've currently been in this bear market, which is currently 135 days. And usually bear markets last 363 days at least. So 135 days would be far too short to have the full extent of the bear market, which we've been in so far. If we look at 2022, we can see that once the low was in, if you started to DCA or lump sum a month, even 2 months later, you had still a lot of time to buy at very good prices. And even if we take it 290 days based on how long it took us to bottom in 2015, we can see that if we go from the bottom and we look out 290 days, we can clearly see that you would have been buying at amazing prices from the bottom all the way to August of 2023. You would have been buying at 16K, 17K, in the low 20s, mostly 27K, 28K, and again at 25K. So you'd have been buying at very good prices if you were dollar cost averaging over 290 days. And even if we look at the cycle in 2018, once the bottom was in, even if we go out 290 days, that would take us to September 2019. As you could see, you would have also been DCAing at very good prices. And then eventually we had the bull market. So you would have definitely gotten very good entries. The main takeaway from this video should be that once the bottom is in, which usually takes about a year from once the top is in, you do have a good amount of time to DCA or even lump sum amounts into Bitcoin. So there's no need to panic and think that you missed the dip already and that you're not going to have any time to buy the bottom and you need to constantly be checking the charts, because as you can see, historically speaking, once the bottom is in, you do have quite a bit of time to get your entries. So what I'm expecting to happen this cycle is something similar. Potentially we bottom sometime around in October, and even if the exact bottom is a month earlier or even a month later, as we can see from prior cycles, you do have several months to get good entries. So there's no need to panic and worry if you miss the bottom and if you should be buying right now and what to do. If you're sitting on cash and you're looking to get into Bitcoin, right now is probably a good time to wait and see how things pan out. Once we eventually make a bottom, most likely later this year, there will be a good amount of time of consolidating where you will be able to buy. But it's good to have a strategy from now to be ready that once we do start to reach Q4 of 2026, you are starting to DCA and buy by some, as earliest you should be done would be end of 2026, and latest would be good to be done July 2027. So depending how much risk you want to take, if you want to take more risk, then you can DCA faster and be done buying by end of 2026. If you want to take on less risk, then your DCA window could be bigger, and you can start DCAing in October of 2026 and be done in July 2027. That way, you're going to be DCAing over a longer period of time, reducing your downside risk.